Hi, I'm Gavin Robertson from Safari Tank South Africa. Today we're going to fit a 14 litre Safari tank to my KTM 690 Enduro. A good friend of mine, Clayton Scott from TR Tech Adventure, is going to show us how to fit this tank. Hi Clay.
How's it going?
Well, thanks for helping.
Before starting the project, please read the detailed fitting instructions. Make sure the bike is in a well-ventilated area and drain all the fuel from the tank. Remove the mud flap. This will make it easier to get to the fuel pump housing. Loosen the 4 bolts and let the remaining fuel drain out. Make sure you have a drip tray under the bike. Remove the bolts and lower the pump housing assembly. Take care not to remove the housing too far from the tank. Press the 2 upper tabs to release the fuel pump housing. There are 2 either side of the housing. Check that all the fuel is drained before moving the bike to a clean working area. Now we can start working on fitting the tank. Remove all the components from the sealed bag. Remove the seat and both shrouds. The shrouds cannot be used with a Safari tank, so keep them in a safe place. If you get stuck, there are detailed fitting instructions that come with the kit. 2 new 1.5mm holes have to be drilled into the fuel pump housing.
And basically all we have to do is move these little holes there, move them 12mm up, because we're going to be fitting this 12mm bracket in between the fuel pump and the tank. And what I do is I just put a little bit of masking tape around you, just so that it's easier to get the drill to stay in one place, and it's easier to mark. So what we're going to do now is mark the hole that we have to drill on the fuel pump housing that will line up with the hole in the adapter for the Safari tank. And we can pretty much just do that by eye, just looking at where the hole comes out here. Put a little line on there. And this hole must be 6mm from the bottom face of the original fuel pump housing.
Always check your measurements before drilling holes. Now a 4mm hole must be drilled. Remove the masking tape and clean the newly drilled holes with a drill bit. Make sure the housing is thoroughly cleaned.
Something that's not mentioned in the instructions is just to put a tiny bit of seal on all the gaskets, which isn't necessary, but I just prefer to do it just to make sure it's sealed. Just make sure that when you do put the adapter on the fuel pump housing that the hole you drilled lines up with the hole for the Safari tank supply.
Again, make sure everything is clean. When replacing the housing, make sure that the outlet is facing to the back right-hand side of the tank. Also make sure that both clips are properly clipped in. Use the new 30mm bolts to tighten the fuel pump housing onto the tank. After tightening the housing, the mud flap can be refitted. Fit the tank support cross brace through a hole in the back of the cylinder head. Although different to the fitting instructions, we tightened the cross brace now. Remove the seat mounting bracket. Now fit the seat mount to the new tank mount and tighten using the new 16mm bolts. Make sure that the bracket is centered. Before fitting the tank, make sure that it is clean inside. The fitting instructions suggest you use fuel, but we blew it out with air.
See the crap that came out of there.
Make sure that both fuel taps are tight. Do not over tighten these bolts. Remove all the bolts on the inside of the tank. Bolt on the cross brace brackets, the slotted sections facing forward and down. These brackets can be tightened. Be careful not to over-tighten them. Remove the bolts in the front of the tank. Now remove the lower radiator support bolts on both sides of the bike. Now it's time for me to do some work and help Clayton fit the tank. Fit the front tank bolts, but do not tighten yet. Fit the tank cross brace bolts and also don't tighten these yet. Now fit the shorter side mounting bracket on the left hand side of the bike and the longer bracket on the right hand side. Now you can tighten up all the tank bolts. Fit the seat and make sure that it clips into the front seat support. That's the tank fitted. Now we can tackle the plumbing. Remove the rear brake reservoir mounting bolt. Connect the fuel hose and fit the fuel tap mounting plate using the new longer 16mm hex bolts. Clayton fitted the hose with the longest pipe extending across the cylinder to the left-hand side. The medium pipe went from the T-piece to the fuel tap, and the short pipe went to the right-hand side of the tap. Make sure the pipes are away from the exhaust and cable tie all the hoses in position.
Thanks, Clay.
No problem.
Thanks for fitting the tank. That's how you fit a Safari 14-litre tank to a KTM 690. If you have any problems after seeing this video, I recommend you contact them.